You ever catch yourself thinking, I'm not good enough, or you worry that you'll never be able to achieve your goals? You know, it's that nagging voice in the back of your head, self-doubt. And we all have it, and I've dealt with it in so many stages of my life, and it almost stopped me from doing things that I really wanted to do. But here's the truth, you can overcome it, and today I'm going to share how. You see, self-doubt is something that comes up in all our lives, no matter who you are, whether you're starting something new, making a big life change, or you're just trying to believe in yourself. It sneaks in, and I've been there more times than I can count. And when you look at social media, it seems like everyone's got their life together, doesn't it? Like no one else is struggling and everyone's got all the confidence in the world. But that's not reality. What most people don't see are the fears, insecurities, and the doubts behind those perfect pictures. And that's something I've noticed so many of us are hesitant to talk about. We want to seem like we're doing great, that we're on top of everything. But the truth is, most of us have these thoughts running through our minds, and it's a normal part of being human. And I'll be honest, you know, starting my business as a women's empowerment and grief coach came with a lot of self-doubt. I remember thinking, am I really the right person for this? What if I fail? What if no one wants to hear what I have to say? Those thoughts and what ifs were there constantly. But you know, it didn't stop with just the business side of things. I had no idea how to navigate the tech world. I didn't grow up with it like younger generations have. I didn't know anything about starting a YouTube channel, writing a book, or recording podcasts. I remember trying to record my first podcast episode, and the number of times I started and then stopped and thinking, who's going to listen to this? I sound ridiculous, and I didn't like the sound of my own voice. But I realised that these doubts were just holding me back. And what's funny is once I put it out there, I got messages from people who were so grateful. They thanked me for my honesty and for sharing my story, for showing them that they weren't alone in their grief or their struggles. And that's when it hit me. Self-doubt wasn't a reason to stop. It was a sign that I was stepping outside of my comfort zone. And that's where growth happens. It wasn't about being perfect. It was about showing up and being real. And I want you to know that if you're doubting yourself right now, you're not alone. The key is not to let it stop you from moving forward. You know, don't get me wrong, I love social media. However, in some ways, it's made it even harder for us to battle self-doubt, hasn't it? You know, think about it. We scroll through Instagram or Facebook, and what do we see? Perfect homes, perfectly put together people, and everything looks ideal. But what we're not seeing is the real stuff, the sleepless nights and the messy days and the struggles. You know, I'm not afraid to say I've been there, comparing myself to others, thinking, why can't I have it all together like they do? But then I remind myself, no one's life is picture perfect. Those moments we see online are curated, and they're often far from reality. We've got to stop comparing ourselves. Honestly, you are enough just as you are, even if you have doubts. Every person, every business owner, every parent deals with their own sense of insecurities and self-doubt. Let me share another story about self-doubt. When I started this YouTube channel, I felt completely out of my depth. I didn't know anything about filming, editing, or being on camera. I had so many excuses running through my mind. I'm too old to learn this. I don't have enough time. who the heck's gonna watch this? And honestly, I was riddled with self-doubt. And it felt like there were a million reasons to quit even before I started. But I made a decision. Instead of focusing on all of the things I didn't know, I started to focus on the small steps I could take. I learned one thing at a time every day. I got a little better, and guess what? With each small victory, my confidence grew and the self-doubt started to shrink. You see, the key was taking action even when I didn't feel ready or confident. And that's what I want you to remember. Confidence doesn't come first. Action comes first, and then confidence follows. Now let's get into the 5 tips that have helped me to overcome self-doubt. And these are not quick fixes, but they're powerful strategies that you can start using today. So number 1, acknowledge your doubts, because the first step is simple. Admit that you have self-doubt. It's easy to push it aside or try to ignore it, but when you acknowledge it, you take its power away. For me, I had to stop pretending everything was fine and face my fears head on. And you might feel scared or unsure, and that's okay, because admitting it is the first step towards change. Number 2, break down big goals into small steps. You know, self-doubt often comes when we look at a goal and we think, oh man, that's way too big, I can't do that. But when you break it down into small, manageable tasks, it becomes less overwhelming. For example, when I was learning to edit my first podcast, I didn't expect myself to be perfect right away. I just focused on learning one part at a time, and each time I completed a small task, I felt a little bit more confident, and so I continued on. Now, number 3. Challenge your negative thoughts. You know, this is a huge one. That voice in your head that says you're not good enough, it's not always telling the truth. When those thoughts come up, ask yourself, is this really true, or is it just fear talking? Remind yourself of all the things you've already accomplished in life. I'll bet it's a lot. And honestly, you're more capable than you think. Number 4. Surround yourself with support. It's so important to have people in your corner who believe in you, especially when you're struggling to believe in yourself. I've been lucky to have friends, family, and community that lift me up when I need it. And whether it's someone to bounce ideas off or just a listening ear, having support makes a world of difference. And number 5, take action even when you're afraid. Here's the truth. Self-doubt doesn't just disappear on its own. You have to move forward despite of it. And action is what builds confidence, even if it's a small step. Taking action shows your mind that you can do it. Over time, that fear loses its grip and you start to realize that you're capable of more than you thought. And I'll bet you'll start having more fun. So what I want you to know is that self-doubt doesn't define you. It's part of the process and part of life, and it doesn't have to control you. If you're doubting yourself right now, whether it's in your work, relationships, or personal growth, know that it's okay. We all go through it, and you can still move forward even with those doubts. Now, before I go, I want to say, if you're struggling with more than just self-doubt, like if you're finding yourself turning to alcohol a little too often to cope, or if you're having trouble sleeping, then I've created some free resources to help you. I have a free addiction journal and a guided sleep meditation, and they're available on my website, and you can download them using the link below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave a comment, because I'd love to hear how you're handling self-doubt or what strategies have worked for you. And thanks so much for watching. And if you're looking to find a little extra courage, especially in life's hardest moments, be sure to check out my previous video.